I'm introducing brother Dipesh. He is doing his PhD in economics from Colorado School of Mines. Also a poet who published a book, My Epistles in Rhymes. Please, I'm welcoming. Please come.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. So I'm happy to be here. I'm not a Telugu, but I'm Telugu by marriage. My wife is Telugu, so yeah, I do understand Telugu quite a lot, but I don't speak much, so please excuse me for that. So today I'm going to read a couple of my poems. This is the book that has been published in India. I'm not sure if it is available here. I have a couple of copies, so those of you who are interested, I can share a couple of copies with you. Yeah. So I'm going to read a poem which is called Infinite as an Infant. Okay. So when I consider these, an ordinary newborn baby, born to poor travelers, delivered in a stench-laden stable, surrounded by lowly peasants, in a dark winter night, wrapped in drab clothes, and cheered by sleepy sounds of cattle. I don't see how this can be anything unusual. Right? Those of us who come from Hyderabad, at least you'd be aware of Chintal Basti, right? Yeah, so in Chintal Basti, children being born in lowly places with stench and something similar to what Jesus was born in is not very unusual. But so what's so unusual about this birth, right? So when I consider these, an infinite one morphed into an infant, born to parents of royal lineage, delivered according to prophecies foretold, surrounded by those whom he loved, in a dark skylit by the shining star, wrapped in his righteousness and cheered by angelic songs. I do not see how this can be anything usual. When I consider these, an infant did not remain one. He chose to bear our sickness and shame, delivered us from the jaws of hell, surrounded us with his never-changing love. In dark separation he tore through, reconciled us with our Creator, and cheered for us as we hung him on a cross. I do not see how this can be anything usual. So this child was born in a very usual kind of circumstance, and even today when there is so much of sickness, poverty, lack in our world, children being born in poverty is nothing unusual. But we know about Christ because he did not remain a child. He took the cross, he bore our sins and shame, and that's what makes him unusual. Right? Our faith hinges on the fact that he died and then rose again. So if there is one thing that actually our faith depends on, it's the proof that resurrection happened. So that's something that I want you to consider. Let me read one more, which is very contemporary kind. Okay, this will ring some bells because of what we hear happening right now in the world around us and specifically in India. When I look around, the world is falling apart. The economy is uncertain, societies are brutal. Relationships are broken, love is a facade. Hate is a global culture. Truth and its pursuit are dead. Lies are tools to success. Hellbound souls are all around. Creation is in ruins. The debris of nature is scattered. Humanity is sharply struck, and I deeply mourn. This deliberate destruction, indeed this world is not like my home. Enticed by sinfulness, the world has given away. The love was lost to lust, the fellowship of God to labor. Blessedness was lost to curse, and peace to the pursuit of worldly conformation. The community was poisoned, seeds of discord sown. The beauty of the world faded, yet the Son of God came. Gave his life for his love of souls, thus open the gates of heaven that the world chooses to ignore. This self-destruction I'm on. Indeed, this fallen world was not ever meant to be my home. So when God created the world, He created it perfect, right? We know from the Bible, He looked at the world and He said, it's beautiful, right? But we, because of our sinfulness, let the world to go astray, and we see what's going on right now. Right? So at this point of time, I would like you to consider two things from the message of Christ, that we are loved. It's because of our love that Jesus came on this world and actually chose to die for us. And the second thing is we are never alone. Right? He came, He loved us even when He was in heaven. But He came to the world to prove that He understands what we go through, the sufferings that we go through, the challenges, the temptations that we go through. Right? So that's the message of Christmas that I would like to share. Finally, I'm also told to share my testimony, so I will just take another 2 minutes or so. So I was born in a Hindu family. I studied in now called Indian Institute of Technology in Bangalore. And then I got a job in Hyderabad. That's how I first landed in Hyderabad. And then there was some vacuum inside. You study, you work hard, you think that you have achieved, you have arrived in life, and then you go to workplace and you see it's again a rut. Right? So there is oftentimes a sense of vacuum, emptiness within us. If some of you have not felt it, I'm sure in times to come you will feel it, because that's how life is. So I felt that, and there was one particular day I was very, very low, sad, not fully understood what life was about. Was there more to life than just job and, earning materials? So then I walked around. I went to a place near Secunderabad railway station. It was a church there. I just sat outside. It was a working day, so of course the church was locked and there were benches outside, so I sat there. And, coming from a background where you say that, there are all ways leading to just one God, right? So because of that kind of attitude, I just bowed my head there and said, God, I don't know really who you are, but if you are truly there, if you really exist, then you show me the way. Tell me that you care for me. Tell me that you love me. And that was my first, tangible encounter with Jesus. I heard Him say that you are in the right place, I love you, and I'll take care of you. You just need to follow me. You have to give your heart. So that was the first thing. But having come from logical science and engineering background, you don't accept things that easily. Right? So we have our own ideas. We would try to understand why is it logical. So I met my wife somewhere down the lane in that year. About 6 months or so later, she came from a Christian background. So we started going to church. And the pastors there would confront and they would say that, He's the only way. And I came from a background where I heard all the time from my parents that all ways lead to just one God. So this was like an affront. How can someone say there's just one way? So I explored more. I studied the Bible very, very thoroughly, and like Sunil just now mentioned, if you seek Him, you'll find Him. There are a team number of instances, testimonies. Naveen Qureshi, he wrote a book as well, which says, seeking Allah, finding Jesus. Right? So there are many people who have come to that stage. Some of you are fortunate to have been born in Christian families. You don't have to perhaps seek as hard, but for me it was a real tough task. And I studied and I studied and I studied. So I became something called almost Christian. There's a poem in this book which talks about that, almost Christian. So I understood that, all religions superficially are the same. They all have a place to worship, they all have a book, they all have priests and pastors who come and preach, and the buildings they have. But essentially they are all different, right? They don't say the same thing. They look superficially the same, but inherently they are very, very different, right? So what happens to people when they die? If you ask this question, all the religions have different answers, right? So that's why all the religions could be wrong, but not all can be right. So I needed to find that right answer. And then it led me to Jesus. So I had almost understood that, yeah, he is the right one, perhaps I should accept. But I was looking for some more, really groundbreaking kind of encounter. So then there's an instance mentioned in the book, there's a testimony, some 4 pages written in the book. You might like to read that. So once I was traveling from Hyderabad to Mumbai, that time the airport was in Begumpet. So from my home I took a taxi, reached there, and that's when I realized that I had literally no money, coincidentally, that day. So my wallet was empty, no money, the debit card had expired, no credit card like we culturally have in India. Who carries credit card there, right? So here you have to, but not there. And then checkbook, of course, nobody carries checkbook all around. So I literally, having money in my bank account, I was moneyless on that day. So it was early in the morning, 6 o'clock. I thought, what do I do now? There is an important meeting, board of directors of one of the Maharashtra's power generation company was supposed to meet, and they were supposed to take a decision. So I had to do, I was making a presentation there. So then I thought, what should I do? And then the thought came in my mind that God, if you are the real one, I have heard about you, that those who put their trust in you, you will not disappoint them. Let me take a test for you today. Let's see. I will not ask anyone for favor today. I will not ask money from anyone. I will not ask even help from anyone. No transportation, no food. But I'll see how you take care of it. And it was peak of monsoon. It was raining heavily in Hyderabad. It was raining even more heavily in Mumbai. So when I landed there, the rain stopped. I looked in my bag. I had barely 8 rupees or 9 rupees coins in my bag. So then I managed to go to Bandra station. Then I took a train. Not Bandra, Santa Cruz station. And then took a train to Bandra. There somehow I landed up at the client location. The meeting was in Nariman Point, those of you who are familiar with Mumbai. So then they offered me to transport to Nariman Point. They never used to arrange for these things, but that day they arranged for food, and then they brought me back to that Bandra office in the afternoon. I had now a flight to catch, and Bandra is close to about 8 kilometers from the airport. So when I reached Bandra office, I sat with some of them for some time. On the 3rd floor, I could see from the window outside it was pouring heavily. Then I said, God, I'm not going to ask these people to provide me transport. I'm going to walk and let's see what you do. And it's of course not my will to go onto the aircraft fully drenched in water. Right? So then I came down from 3rd floor to ground floor and the rain stopped miraculously. And from there, all the way to the airport, I kept walking, praying. 8 kilometers, it took me about 1 hour, 15, 20 minutes, and not a drop of rain. When I reached inside the shade of the Mumbai airport, it started raining again. So much rain it happened on that particular day that, like they say proverbial in Mumbai, when the local trains stop, that means it has really rained very heavily. So next day, when I heard that this was the kind of rain that was happening in Mumbai, and how God protected my shirt and my jacket to have even a droplet of water, I thought this is the indication. God has fulfilled His promise. Now I need to do that again on my side. So on 15th August, the Independence Day of India, 2007, I took my baptism. So I would like to encourage you that, you must have heard of testimonies that if you feel like, my mother-in-law sometimes used to mention these. When she felt like having gongura mutton on a particular day, God will provide. There are others, Shivanti is again back in India, in Hyderabad. She would talk about some specific kinds of, fish or sometimes aqua. God provides. God looks at our heart and He meets even the smallest desires of our heart. So that's my testimony. If you are encouraged, please give God a great hand. Thank you so much.